I've realized that a lot of my problems stem from interactions with other people. Indeed, so I'm trying to keep my interactions with other people to a minimum. And at this point, I'm not going to focus on Wiltshire Police and local Masonic networks because as soon as I focus on these networks, things start happening, i.e., I end up with angry mobs harassing me, or I end up arrested, or I end up railroaded into a psychiatric hospital. So, for the time being, I'm going to focus on the bigger issue. Indeed, it seems that Western society is collapsing on itself, and this is of no fault of external entities. This is the fault of the Western populations themselves. Indeed, I say this, but there are also factors that have contributed to this decline. And this decline serves some sort of agenda whereby a new technocratic order will be instituted. And as I previously surmised, it seems that the British intelligence networks, as with the American and French intelligence networks, above a certain security clearance, are in fact the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst network. Indeed, it seems that the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst have very cleverly penetrated and absorbed the Western intelligence structure. And this was a calculated effort by the networks of the SS, SD, Gestapo, and Abwehr, who collapsed themselves seemingly at the end of the Second World War, dissociated themselves with the Frankist network of Adolf Hitler and spread throughout the globe, and thence penetrated and absorbed the Western and Russian intelligence structures. Indeed, as I've stated before, while lower level operatives of British, American, French, and Soviet intelligence were engaged in a genuine, to an extent, Cold War conflict, the Nazi networks were able to penetrate the Western intelligence agencies while the Western intelligence agencies were focusing on the communists. And the Nazi networks managed to penetrate the Soviet intelligence agencies while the Soviet intelligence agencies were focusing on the West. Indeed, no one was thinking about the Nazi networks. Thereby, they were able to basically penetrate and then absorb these organizations. Indeed, it could be argued that Russian intelligence since the early 1800s has in fact been a branch of originally Prussian and then German intelligence structures. And it is also arguable that the Soviet Union was in fact a German intelligence construct. Indeed, the German intelligence networks in the First World War were highly instrumental in the placing of Lenin in power in Russia, thenceforth to be known as the Soviet Union. And with the evidence of the Rapallo principle and the Reichswehr maintaining their bases in the Soviet Union during the interwar period, it seems that German intelligence had certainly a controlling percentage of the Soviet Union's intelligence structure. And it is therefore also arguable that the Gulag system in the Soviet Union was a German intelligence experiment in terms of their plans for the Hebrews in the Second World War. Indeed, it does seem that the majority of visible ruling figures in the Soviet Union were Frankists, and the Frankists have been since the 1770s coordinated and controlled by German intelligence networks. Thereby, this all links up. Indeed, the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst is a transnational, extraterritorial, decentralized network and is not actually recognized as an intelligence branch of the federal German government, unlike the Bundesnachrichtendienst and other networks. And the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst basically acts as a shadow entity within Germany and the wider NATO structure, and is operative for the creation of a thousand year Reich principle, basically. Indeed, the principles that guided the Nazis are still kept alive by the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, although the emphasis has changed from National Socialism to outright technocracy. And indeed, we are seeing the implementation of technocracy in the NATO countries. And this smokescreen of British intelligence criminal operations that I have spoken of before, whereby British intelligence is basically running the entire organized crime racket in the United Kingdom. This seems to be a smokescreen for the implementation of a Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst technocracy, what with British intelligence operatives and officers above a certain level of security clearance being themselves actually integrated with the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst network. Indeed, above a certain level of security clearance, British intelligence is indistinguishable from the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, which is itself rooted in many German secret orders of the 1700s, including the Mad Housekeepers Guild, the Bavarian Illuminati, and the Asiatic Brethren. And just as British intelligence do, the Nazis thought of themselves as the continuation of the Knights Templar. And it seems that all of these German secret orders, from the Bavarian Illuminati to the Bavarian Thule, etc., seem to take their anecdotes from Knights Templar continuums. And this involves, to a certain degree, a conflict with the central organization of the Roman Church, i.e. the Roman Empire's secret police. And this seems to be an ongoing conflict, though the current Pope is now Robert Prevost of a Swiss bloodline intelligence family who are heavily linked to the Dulles family. And the Alan Dulles was himself a Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst operative, as well as the director of Central Intelligence for the CIA in the United States. And it is interesting how this cryptocracy is weaved together. And we see the permeation of the Vatican networks very thoroughly by the P2 Masonic Lodge, which was itself a branch of British intelligence, seemingly, but that could have been cover for the fact that the P2 Masonic Lodge was actually a branch of the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, what with British intelligence above a certain level of security clearance being actually a front for the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst. So all roads seemingly lead to Dachau. Indeed, there is a Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst headquarters complex at Dachau, which is built on a site where thousands of Russian prisoners of war were executed by the Nazis. So this site has occult significance for the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, as they do weave many occult rituals into their intelligence work, which basically is evidence that the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst is based in the German secret societies and secret orders of the previous few centuries. Indeed, the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst seems to be an amalgamation of the various German secret orders of the past 400 to 500 years. Indeed, the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst networks arguably also have a controlling percentage of the Chinese Communist Party, though they set up a dialectic whereby the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst also controlled the World Anti-Communist League, which was created by operatives of the Kuomintang, the Chinese nationalists, and the burgeoning networks of the Korean CIA, the KCIA, the Korean equivalent of the Central Intelligence Agency, which is also known as the Central Intelligence Agency. And these networks themselves linked in with Japanese networks, which were core components of the original Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst structure as it formed towards the end of the Second World War, with many Japanese operatives interfacing with the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst. Indeed, the Yakuza, in many high percentages, also interfaced with the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, as did many elements of the Chinese triads, especially the Chinese triads connected to the Kuomintang, which were heavily prominent in the opium trade, which was being overseen by the Central Intelligence Agency, who took over the Golden Triangle from the networks of French intelligence. Indeed, it's also arguable that these French intelligence operatives were themselves interfaced with the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, and therefore this leads to a conclusion that much of the drug epidemic in the NATO countries is related to the operations of the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, who not only utilize the drugs trade to basically top up their black budget for black operations and covert operations around the world, but they also wish to destabilize the NATO countries in view of transcending the current democratic system and instituting their own post-Nazi technocracy on the ashes of the West. Indeed, Russia is also collapsing, and a lot of this has to do with the activities of the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, who have thoroughly penetrated all Russian intelligence branches and are coordinating operations with Chinese cartels and Chinese corporations to basically use Russia as a synthetic drug laboratory, whereby they can weaken the internal structure of the Russian Federation and basically impose a technocracy of their own creation on the western percentage of Russia, while the eastern percentage of Russia would go to the Chinese. Indeed, this area from the western borders of Russia to the Ural Mountains would be an encapsulation of the Nazi vision of Lebensraum, thereby the area would potentially act as some sort of colony of NATO, although there would be many factions and warlords operative, as the Russian intelligence structure would fragment and basically begin fighting against each other, which it is basically doing already, and a culling of the population of ethnic Russian Slavs would allow for the Germanic vision of Lebensraum to potentially be achieved. Indeed, this may be how things are working out. Indeed, the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst has many proxies in the former Soviet regions, especially the Ukrainian paramilitaries and various aspects of Ukrainian intelligence, and even many percentages of the Ukrainian army, which are operating as a Gladio 2 network for the furtherance of the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst agenda. Indeed, there are many neo-Nazi accelerationist networks in the former Soviet countries, including in Russia itself, who are basically programmed by the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst networks to cause chaos and engage in drug smuggling and satanic ritual abuse for programming and mind control programming itself. Indeed, these satanic covens all seem to link back up to the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, just as networks such as the Order of Nine Angles, headquartered in Shropshire in Britain, link up to the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst as appendages. Indeed, Michael Aquino's Temple of Set was a key operation of the NSA in the United States, but this operation was overseen by the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst. Indeed, Michael Aquino I think he died, was a Nazi fetishist and a key mind control programmer and ritual sadist who was operative for the networks of the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst through the Order of the Trapezoid. Indeed, these smaller satanic covens, even though the Temple of Set was a huge intelligence operation and therefore cannot be considered as a smaller satanic coven, but all of these satanic covens link up to the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst. Indeed, the Ordo Templi Orientis is also coordinated by the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, and the Ordo Templi Orientis has a majority percentage of affiliation over the entire network of Masonic lodges. Indeed, this links to the instances in the late 1700s whereby the Freemasons in their majority became Illuminized Freemasons, what with the Illuminati order gaining majority percentages among the networks within the Masonic lodges. And this is being reproduced with the Ordo Templi Orientis in the modern world. Indeed, Theodor Reuss and Karl Kellner and their subaltern Karl Germer were connected to an order they founded called the Order of the Illuminati, which was an attempt to recreate the networks of Weishaupt. So all of these networks linking together, and indeed, as I've stated, all of these occult organizations are themselves intelligence networks and agencies, and they all seem to link back up to the overarching intelligence monolith, which is the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, which has completely penetrated all of the Western intelligence structure and most of the bureaucracy, and is basically showing its face subtly to the populations in the Western countries. And things seem to be coming to a head. Indeed, the majority of British, American, French, Israeli, and German corporations are coordinated by advisors who are themselves intelligence operatives of the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst. So this is all linking together. Indeed, many of the Roman Catholic orders, the Jesuit order, are subordinate to the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, as are the Franciscans. And I'd even surmise now that with the incarnation of Prevost as Pope, i.e. Pope Leo XIV, we are seeing the complete domination of the Vatican entity by the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst networks through British intelligence proxies of the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst also. And the entity, the Vatican, very powerful Vatican intelligence network, is itself now part of the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst structure in a process that has been building since most probably before the Second World War, and is evidenced in the activities of the Roman Catholic Church after the Second World War, whereby the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst instituted Operation Ratline that could only have been achieved through the concerted efforts of the Deutsche Verteidigungs Dienst and the Roman Catholic Church networks, i.e. the entity, with logistical support from the American CIA, British MI6, and the French intelligence agencies. Indeed, I'm going to leave it there.